Welcome, everyone. I'm Jaress.
And I'm Patrick.
And you are listening to Opus Robusto. Opus Robusto is the only cigar, whiskey, and classical music podcast on the planet. Opus Robusto is for cigar aficionados, whiskey enthusiasts, and classical music admirers. Our goal is to articulate the musicality, genius, artistry, and magic of classical music in a way that's accessible to the beginner as well as the musically accomplished alike, all while enjoying a great cigar with a glass of whiskey. Sit back, light up, and enjoy a relaxing evening with us as we discuss music and cigars. Bottoms up. So,
that was one of my first sips of this. This is nice.
What are you drinking?
Oh, it's Rittenhouse rye. It's my first time trying this. Have you tried this?
I don't think I have.
Yeah.
But Rittenhouse is actually like a little area in like downtown Philly.
Yeah, it's a Philadelphian whiskey.
Yeah, it's a little expensive, I would say.
Well, this one's cheap. This was like $22.
Well, even just like the area of Rittenhouse is like
it's a
pretty expensive area, but that's cool.
Yeah. I ran into a supplier. I was at Bevmo. I wouldn't normally go there. I usually go to some specialty place, but what I was kind of looking for, I couldn't find. So I was like, I'll just go to Bevmo. And I ran into this supplier, and he was like looking for something. He's like, oh, they're out. And I'm like, what are they out of? And I forget what it was. But anyway, he was just kind of there doing research. And I was like, hey, since you're here, looking for a ride, you want to pick something out for me? And he picked this one. He was like, yeah, this has got a nice spicy, it's 100 proof.
Nice.
That's what I like about rye. It's not, bourbon is nice and sweet, which I think goes well with a cigar. I usually like bourbon with cigars, but I don't know. I was really intrigued by this one. I really like ryes too. So anyway, it's good. I was getting some cinnamon notes here at the end.
Nice.
I only know that because the guy told me. So don't be too impressed with my palate or anything. How was your day, Jaress?
It's good. Yeah, it's good. Work is busy.
What do you do for a living?
Yeah, I work for Comcast. I am a director in technology audit, which is not as creative as music, I would say.
That sounds really, really intriguing.
Yeah, it's got its own. Maybe we should do a whole show just on that. I can talk about what I do, and we'll lose all of our subscribers.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be healthy. All right, cool, man.
Well, so aside from Patrick's love with bourbon and whiskeys and everything, he's also a conductor and music educator at Centennial High School in Bakersfield, California. He received his undergraduate degree at Luther College in Decorah, Iowa, where he and his wife sang with the Nordic Choir. He went on to receive his master's in music at California State University, Los Angeles. Patrick also plays piano for worship on Sundays and enjoys a cigar on the golf course as often as he can.
Which is not often enough, Jaress. It's not often enough.
Well, at least you get to go. I'm not a big fan of golf, mainly because I'm terrible at it. So
you know what? I've learned that people don't like things because they don't understand them.
True.
Meanwhile, Jaress is the concertmaster for the South Jersey Pops Orchestra based in Marlton, New Jersey. Not only is he an accomplished violinist, but also pianist, guitarist, and vocalist. While he doesn't have a degree in music, he was on scholarship for music during his undergrad, where he held down the bass part for the vocal jazz ensemble there. Peggy Sears, right? Peggy Sears led that?
Peggy Sears.
Peggy Sears, yeah. Bakersfield, California. local vocal coach. She's phenomenal.
She's
Most
great.
Sundays you can find Jaress leading worship for his church, and on Saturdays he'll be smoking a cigar or maybe two.
Speaking of cigars, what are you having tonight?
So tonight, also because tonight was special, Jaress. You know, I was
Tonight's
like,
a special
hey,
night.
I need a special cigar and some special whiskey. So I got my Rittenhouse here, based out of Philly. Really appropriate. Honestly, very what you call coincidental there. So,
Well,
but this
Brahms
one,
was born in Philly, right? I'm just kidding.
I mean, it's all stars are aligning tonight, people. This is a what do you call it? Cavalier. It's a Cavalier Geneve. It's based out of Switzerland. Well,
Interesting.
the guy is Swiss, but I guess they roll them in Honduras. So it's a Honduras, but a cigar, but yeah, it's based out of Switzerland. So, and it's got this gold wrapper,
Yeah, I
which
saw that.
which I read is actual 24 karat edible gold. So,
Wow.
I am very tempted to eat this gold wrapper right now and tell you what gold tastes like.
More power to you.
Maybe later. But anyway, yeah, I'm really excited to smoke this. What are you smoking tonight, Jaress?
Tonight I have a Diesel Wicked. It's this guy. I don't know if you can see him. Let me move my light so you can see him. Diesel Wicked.
Oh wow. It looks rather red.
It is. Well, that's just the rapper or the band. There's like a band.
Oh,
yeah.
I had a hard time seeing it. I was like, wow, I didn't know they
Secondary
made red
band.
wrappers. Okay.
What do they say? It says oak, leather, dark tobacco, roasted espresso bean, black pepper, and red pepper. Sounds good to me. I've had it a couple times before. I'm not sure that I get all of those flavors, but some of them are definitely there. I don't know how to differentiate between black pepper, and red pepper, I guess, in a cigar.
Well, I would think red pepper is, obviously got a little bit more of a kick, maybe on the mouth.
Yeah.
I asked the guy. I was like, hey, I need something special for tonight, and he said, hey, try this one. This is our most popular one right now. I was like, well,
awesome.
That's the one I want. So I was like, all right, here we go.
Well,
are you a puncher or a cutter?
I like cutting. I'm not a huge fan of the punch. I feel like the draw isn't as nice, at least for me.
Isn't as powerful, maybe sometimes.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I've done it both. Recently, I do kind of just right on the tip of a cut. Yeah. I need something a little bit bigger than a punch. I feel like I'm working too hard.
Yeah.
That's sometimes exactly right. I'm just like, I don't need to be working that hard for
not a fan.
Raw. Yeah.
Sorry for all the clicking.
Yeah. Well, if you want to see how ghetto I am, I'm using a Bix, a Bic lighter here. So,
I've got an Alec Bradley tabletop lighter. It was a gift from my sister-in-law, and I've had it for years. It's like $30. You can get it from Amazon.
Yeah, I remember when you got that.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right, so what are we listening to tonight?
We are listening to some Brahms tonight. One of my favorite composers. Um, as you heard, I'm kind of a choir guy. Oh, actually, I didn't put that on the bio. Probably should have. I said music educator, but
Music educator.
Yeah, I'm a choir guy at Centennial, so I teach 5 periods of choir. Yeah, well, I guess I did put Nordic choir in there, but yeah. So I think it's it goes without saying here that I chose something with Brahms, with one of his choral works. We're going to listen to 2 works tonight. Both are secular cantatas. The first one is Nänie, Opus 82.
Not to be confused
And
with Nänie.
not to be confused with Nänie. Yeah, there's an umlaut. There's 2 dots over that A there, Jaress. So the Germans pronounce that Nänie. All right.
Nänie.
We've been working on our pronunciation. And then we'll listen to another piece, Gesang der Parzen, which is another secular cantata. Both are related because they both are they both have a relation to mythology and kind of um, the spirit of Hellenism at the time that Brahms wrote this. So he was really inspired by those themes, and so wrote these and a couple of other works, actually similar in nature. But we'll listen to Nänie and Gesang der Parzen, which I'm excited to share tonight.
Yeah, it's as I was listening to it, both of them this week, I was actually trying to look up the different period in terms of classical, romantic, or baroque, things like that. Because I know there's a couple of composers that I really enjoy, and I knew that I liked Brahms because there was a piece that actually you and I did in college. I can't remember what piece it was, but it was definitely by Brahms, and it was a choir piece, and I loved it. And I love the Brahms Violin Concerto as another example. There's another number of choir, I would say choir tunes, choir pieces that I really enjoy too by Brahms. And so I was looking into, kind of what period he was, and I was surprised, I guess, to find out that he was part of the Romantic period, because when I think of Brahms, I generally think of, and maybe this is not right, but I generally think of a little more structured, very similar to kind of a Beethoven, which I actually learned that Beethoven was also in the classical period, or sorry, in the
Yeah, he was
period,
kind of he was the guy that just kind of springed it into the more the romantic side. There's just a little bit more passion on bigger orchestras, bigger sound, louder dynamics, softer dynamics. I mean, that's kind of what started the whole trend.
Yeah.
Yeah. And from there, new harmonic complexities and the rest of it. So yeah, Brahms is actually very thick into it. The
and even
period.
some of the chords in there, especially in the choir, in the a cappella sections, I think it's in Nänie, very Eric Whitacre-ish. Some of them, there were a couple chords that I heard in there that was like, wow, seems like that if that were written today, that would have been very akin to what Eric Whitacre might do.
Yeah,
not obviously that clustered, but
you would see a little bit more of that kind of, yeah, like you said, cluster. I think there's definitely a particular structure to that, but there is some differences in that. But yeah, I can see where you're coming from.
Well, do you want to give it a listen?
Well, yeah, maybe a little bit more background on this one, actually.
Yeah, let's do it.
So Nänie was Brahms wrote this for one of his good. Well, I mean, it was I don't know how good of a friend he was. He had known him for, I guess, maybe 10, 15 years actually before he passed. Anselm Feuerbach was a painter. And so he was very much into mythological figures and structure, kind of more not as, I mean, there was definitely romantic tones to his works, but he was very much had kind of a more classicism in his paintings, and so he had passed, and so Brahms wrote this for I think it was like for his stepmother Henrietta, and that's kind of the background of this. He used the text from Friedrich Schiller, which was that's where the word Nänie, the Nänie comes from. Here is from that particular text, which was a lament for the dead, as personified by the Greeks. So that's kind of where we are with this. It's asymmetrical in the text, but Brahms kind of makes it more symmetrical. He has kind of an ABA structure going on, meaning the first part of this piece you'll hear a particular segment that it's, I think, was a D major, and then you'll hear maybe some different thick harmony maybe in the texture with the choir, but then later in the B section, then that's kind of a new section. That's a new idea that happens. There's a whole sonata form that happens in that. Then it comes back to kind of more material from the A section, and it's a beautiful piece. I'd love to talk more about it, but enough of me talking. Let's listen to it, Jaress.
One thing that I thought was interesting before we turn it on is, I guess I was kind of under the assumption that the old composers of the day were also writing their own lyrics. And I know that, the stuff that comes from the Bible, obviously they weren't writing that, but a text like this that is not a biblical text, at least not that I could see. I'm surprised to hear you say that he wasn't writing those lyrics.
Yeah, no, I think it's fairly common for composers to not write their own lyrics. I almost get a little concerned if they do, because they tend to be, you're more of like your songwriters that you'll see contemporary artists do. No, there's nothing wrong with it, but I think when you have, because it's a whole nother art form.
Mm-hmm.
That's like saying I'm a master of the violin and the master of the vocal arts, or a master painter at the same time. It's just it's another art form, and so that's why you would see typically composers find some really deep poetry that really resonates with them, and then they run with it. So yeah, he was on a search, on a hunt to find this particular one by Friedrich Schiller. I was going to show a Feuerbach painting, kind of beforehand. So maybe I will do that. But Zoom is a challenge. I don't know if you knew this. I use it every day, except I can't share my screen because I have been disabled the participant share, the screen share.
Can you do that?
So you have to make me a co-host.
But you are a co-host. You're a co-host of this podcast.
You're darn right I am, but not of this Zoom meeting.
I can make you a host, and then I guess you'll have to change it back.
No, you make me. Okay, that's fine. So here it is. Here's a Feuerbach painting for you. This is one of Brahms' favorite ones of Feuerbach.
Wow.
It's called The Battle.
I've seen it. I've definitely seen it.
Yeah. Definitely one of his more famous ones as well. So, yeah. There's I don't know, what do you notice?
Well, it's very
I'm going to put you on the spot. So
yeah, it's gray. No, I'm just kidding. It's yeah, it's very detailed. I mean, just looking at it, it's hard to see everything obviously through the computer, but But there's a lot of stuff going on there. It looks a lot of sadness. That's what I see anyway. It looks like a lot of death.
When I think of the different, because you were talking about different music eras, when I think of Renaissance, I think of Michelangelo, and he's very balanced. You know, the statue, the sculpture. David, I'm sorry, Michelangelo's David is what I meant to say there, and he's very balanced. And with Baroque, you see, if you look at Baroque sculptures, they're very unbalanced.
Okay.
After Baroque, kind of classicism kind of comes back and lines things up again and balances them up again. And you got your Rococo, you got your swirls. Okay, you see that if you go to Europe and you see all the architecture and the Rococo style. Again, very symmetrical. You know, Mozart was like had things down literally to the measure as far as a consistency in that sort of structure. And then Romanticism, you know, like you said, brought in by Beethoven, just completely disrupts everything again. You know, da 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 da.
Yeah.
Da 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 da. I was like, whoa, what just happened, right? And so we bring in and that's kind of where the term Romanticism comes in, because everything's so dramatic. And so, yeah, I mean, you're looking at drama here. So that's, I don't know. I just thought I would share that. It gives you a little bit of idea, maybe what you might be listening to. So,
no, that's good.
Take it away, my friend.
All right. Can you make me a host again?
That's why I said co-host. Okay. So when I say these things, Jaress, this is my everyday. All right, there you go, sir.
All right, there it is. Brahms, Nänie, Opus 82.
You're listening to an oboe? Or on top?
I like the sequencing of the...
Very common theme throughout. You'll hear that.
I love these little pits section.
It's not often that I mean, I suppose you do it often, playing pizzicato with violin.
Yeah.
But it's got to be one of the more fun things that you do with the violin, right?
It is fun.
Do you get excited when a pizz section comes up?
I mean...
Okay, I don't know.
That's fine.
I would get excited. There comes the choir.
So this is a funeral song.
Yeah. Well, it kind of an homage to this guy's life, and again, it's a Friedrich Schiller text, a lament for the dead, as you would see personified with the Greeks here. Even beauty must die, that which overcomes men and gods. There's that building. Here's another one.
Love that orchestra hit.
Mm-hmm. the Stygian Zeus.
I'll have to look up that word, Stygian.
Or Stygian, I don't know how to pronounce
Stygian,
it.
yeah.
But that's what they say, Stygian in German. Ooh, I like this line. Only once did love soften the ruler of shadows. But check this out right here. And then, at the very threshold, he sternly calls back his gift. So he's like, here's some love, psych.
Yeah.
And there's something that happens harmonically that Brahms does. I can talk about later. Now we're talking about Aphrodite.
Same melody, but in a different, not key, but
Yeah, well, different
register.
Yeah, a different motive.
Mm-hmm.
Just got ash all over me.
This part is crazy to me because I just made a transition from D major to F sharp major.
Yeah, which is kind of common. Not that common, but usually in classicism you would hear a shift to A, the dominant, above D.
Yeah.
So that's a fifth.
Yeah.
Here, the F sharp's a third.
Major third, yeah. Not to mention F sharp is a terribly difficult key to play in.
Not fun. And here it's, in the text, it's the ascension. So, but she ascends from the sea with all the daughters of Nereus.
So they're talking about ascension, and we've just ascended as well in key.
Yep, correct.
Which is interesting. This reminds me of like waves, like kind of dying down.
In this line right here, you can hear it's a cappella. So it's highlighted here, right? And this is the kind of the line that clearly Brahms wanted to highlight in the piece. That beauty must pass away, that the perfect must die. And we can talk about golden mean and what that is, but that happens kind of around this area right here. So it's a very significant part of the piece. It's timing.
Mean being the middle of it?
Yeah, I'll definitely touch on that after.
Okay.
Behold, the gods weep, and all the goddesses too.
And both the sopranos and the tenors have such beautiful tone.
Yeah, I think that's one reason I really wanted this particular recording. What was the recording again? Gardner.
Gardner, yeah.
What's the? I forget the name of the group. It's like the Monteverdi. It's like the Monteverdi.
Monteverdi, yep.
Yeah, Monteverdi Orchestra
Choir. Yeah.
So here it is, that line again, that beauty must pass away, that the perfect must die. It's repeated again and again here. Here's some harmonic shift here. Listen for this right here. Check this out.
Oh.
You hear that? That is so crazy.
That's
called
nice.
that's called a transformation. And it was really especially around this time, because this was written in 1881. And that it's an undertonal shift. So in the series of overtones is like you got a pitch, right? And all these different pitches are created from that. Well, he just went backwards in the order of harmony, essentially, to find that key.
Huh.
He goes back to D.
Yeah.
So we have a return here to kind of material from the beginning section here. You hear the timpani
Eric
just hitting
Whitaker.
the dominant. Oh, there's your Eric Whitaker. I see. Okay. I like how you think of him in that moment. You hear the dominant being played in the timpani.
Yeah.
Even louder right there.
Yeah.
To even a song of lamentation in the mouth of the beloved is splendid. Tenors make me laugh in that moment.
I was going to say, it's so loud.
I would tell the tenors to take it easy in that moment right there. Take it easy. What if I was a tenor? I'd probably be guilty of doing that, actually.
Tenors are always too loud, right?
Oh, yeah. Notoriously.
Beautiful.
It's stunning, honestly. I love Brahms, and not only, especially for the non-musician. Yeah, I mean, you listen to that and you're just like, wow, this is really beautiful sounding. Okay, so check. He was able to write something that anyone can enjoy, right? But two, like for the musician, this is loaded. I mean, completely loaded with some very sophisticated writing here. At the beginning, there's some very rhythmic, it's a hemiola that happens. He even wrote to somebody, he said, I'm afraid that they may not be able to properly execute the type of hemiola, which is it's like a 2 against 3 kind of a sensation, if you will. But yeah, something that was
It's
really
kind of like the downbeat gets a little, it feels like it's a little shifted from where it actually is, right? In the
it's almost
hemiola.
like you don't hear a downbeat.
Yeah.
Like the beginning is just kind of this surreal, existence that doesn't have a beginning and end, if you will. I think that's kind of what he was going after, personally. I mean, that's my own take on that. I don't know if I read that or anything, but there's something that really was interesting that happened in the first stanza.
I think it was
when we were
around
talking
here.
about. Oh, no, that's Aphrodite. Yeah, that was actually right before that. So what happened is we were talking about basically the ruler of the shadows, right? We're talking about Hades. He says, or it says in the text that his love softened just a little bit, and then he sternly calls back his gift. And in the text, so that's where the moment where you would normally hear a shift to A major, the dominant. Especially in classicism, like that's the go-to. If you were Mozart, that's what you would do. But I forget what key that is. I would have to look that up right here. So he goes to F, which is actually kind of the minor, the third above D, which is really interesting. Kind of a shift right there.
It's actually a key change to F, or the harmonic.
No, it's a key change to F right there.
Wow, I didn't notice that.
So yeah, it's a really fascinating shift that you normally wouldn't see. So that is the moment where it's like, here's A major, psych. I'm pulling back the gift. So I thought that was a really key moment. Something that was, to me, that's pretty clear in the text and in the harmonic structure.
And that's before the shift to F sharp major.
Correct. Yeah, that's like the second half of the first section, if you will.
What's I guess funny to me, and I don't obviously have a music degree like we talked about, but even as a piano player, thinking about changing keys from D to F sharp, outside of going through the entire circle of fifths, right? Like from D, let's say, down to G, and then from G to C, and then from C to F, and then from F to B flat, and B flat to E flat. Like, right? Like, I don't know how you would go so quickly. Like I'd have to really study the score to figure out how he did that so seamlessly.
But you're a jazz player. I mean, it's all about 2-5-1, right? And
yeah.
And so I think he throws in a nice little dominant seventh right before that, and you just, all you got to do is throw a dominant seventh and give it that natural shift into the next key, if you will. So
I guess maybe somewhere he might have hit like a C sharp 7.
Yeah.
To get to that F sharp major.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, it's beautiful the way he does it.
Yeah.
And I was looking at the score, and I'm not, generally a score reader. I'm looking at the violin part, or the piano part, and looking at the score gave me a much better appreciation for just the amount of foresight that you have to have, right? Like, when today, if you or I were to compose something similar to this, which might be a sin in saying that, but if we were to compose something that would be similar to this, we've got Sibelius or Finale or Dorico or whatever that other one is, and it's easy to kind of
flat die
put it all out, and
ones,
yeah, you could, put out what you think it is and press play, and you could hear it. If it wasn't quite what you want, you literally just drag the pitches down a couple or whatever. Like, but this guy in 1881 didn't have computers, right? So everything was in his mind. And as I was looking through the score and looking to your point earlier at the complexity between each instrument and the voices and how they're not like doubling each other, it's it really is amazing.
Yeah, I mean the ears that, I mean their ear, right, is just far more superior
Mm-hmm.
than ours, because I mean they literally, like you just said, we play things back. We'll play. I mean they played things on the piano, so they could hear it.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, I think about Handel writing, the Messiah, for example, in like what was it, like a couple of weeks or something like that, and he found lots of old material that he had lying around. He's like, I'm just gonna throw it in. Like, he had this deadline. He's like, I gotta just I mean, we're all procrastinators. Can you imagine writing a 3-hour work in 2 weeks? I mean, the guy didn't sleep, obviously, and which might explain the later half of the whole work. But I mean, yeah, I mean, their ears are just phenomenal, and just being able to write all that stuff, and especially in all the different clefs too. We're so used to just treble clef, bass clef, right? And maybe alto clef if you're a conductor, or a viola player, right? But to write all the different pitches, for all the different instruments is just staggering.
Well, speaking of clefs, one thing that I saw, and this is just the score that I pulled up off of IMSLP, at least the rendition that I looked at. The soprano line was in what looked like a viola clef, but instead of the two kind of C's being on the middle B line, it was the middle B line for treble clef. It was actually on like the low E line, the lowest E line in the staff. I'm just curious, do you have any thoughts on why that may have been written that way, if that was original? What's the purpose of that?
Yeah, I mean, they use that alto clef, so it looks like a B, and they just move it around any place you want, basically. And so that was typical for maybe different voicings, or maybe some different instruments. It didn't happen maybe till a little bit later, when the treble clef kind of came to be the predominant, like, let's just stick with sopranos are going to deal with a couple of ledger lines on top of the staff. And so we're talking about range in a clef will keep things on a staff. So the staff is made up of 5 lines. You got your 5 lines and you got your 4 spaces, and what a clef does is it takes your range and puts it on those 5 lines and 4 spaces as much as possible.
A majority of the range that you're going to be using.
That you'll be using. And so sometimes, soprano line, let's lower that clef, so because we got some high notes coming up, and it just, and they were so, I mean, their literacy, their musical literacy was off the charts, right?
Yeah.
I think back to Bach time, when he was writing like, cantatas once a week for his, choir, that he would write it, and then like on Thursday they would practice it, and then on Sunday they'd perform it.
Yeah.
And these are just monster works. If you were ever to like sight read Bach, like it's not an easy thing. So the music literacy back then was just staggering compared to what we experience now. Even, I mean, you would think like the year 2021, and we got like all this, music, software and all this stuff. I mean, I suppose it does a lot of the work for us, right? But
sure.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of an example of that kind of music literacy that you'll notice from that time.
Well, how's your cigar?
This cigar is really, really smooth. I went with a medium one. It was a hot day in Bakersfield today. 94 degrees was our high.
Ouch.
What's your high today, Jaress?
I think it was 83. 83. Not too bad. We went for a walk today. I was sweating, but not too bad.
It's actually pretty warm over there with a little bit of. Was it? It probably wasn't terribly humid.
No, the humidity. It was raining a little bit, but earlier today. But
you don't really start feeling that till you don't feel that till maybe July was when you start feeling that.
July and August is pretty miserable.
August is terrible.
Yeah.
That's actually when we're visiting Iowa. Is August. I'm not looking forward to going to Iowa.
I've never been to Iowa, but I can imagine it's also just as humid.
It's pretty similar to what you're experiencing right now.
And your drink, Rittenhouse?
Yeah. No, like I said, it's with rye. Yeah, you're kind of taking a little bit of the sweetness out, and so it's definitely got more spice to it, which I really like, especially with a more of a medium mild cigar. It complements really well.
I decided to have a little pre-celebration before Cinco de Mayo. And so I'm having an old-fashioned, but I've replaced the old-fashioned bourbon with tequila mezcal. It's one of my go-to drinks. It's Sombra mezcal.
Sombra mezcal.
I love it. This is probably my, I don't know, 4th bottle in maybe the last 8 months.
Wow. Became a mezcal kind of guy. I like it. Isn't mezcal like I forget, is it like it's like a stronger tequila or it's a younger tequila, isn't it?
I don't know about the age or the strength, but the difference is it's a very smoky tequila. So you would almost like picture like a really smoky scotch, but instead of having the scotch flavor, just strip that scotch flavor out and you're left with only the smokiness and a little bit of the tequila flavor. So this old fashioned is very similar to, you could almost call it like a smoked old fashioned. It's very good.
Smoky old fashioned.
Smoky old fashioned.
What bitters do you use for that?
I don't know how to say it, but it's just the standard Angostura or whatever bitters they are. Yeah. The orange ones.
The orange flavor, yeah.
I did have a smoked chili bitters that I should try with this mezcal. I don't think I've tried it with the mezcal. But that would be good.
Oh, I'm reminded of the golden mean. I forgot to mention the Nänie.
Yes.
Yeah, the golden mean. So what the golden mean is, so in nature, it's like, what is it? 0.62 something anyway. If you have this ratio, and you'll see it in flowers, you'll see
like the Fibonacci sequence.
Yeah, it's basically Fibonacci, and that's the golden. So the golden mean, the 0.62 point of the whole work, and this is very common. If you were to study Mozart, that happens almost to the measure. Honestly, with Brahms, he kind of, I think it was like a measure or two off or something like this. But anyway, that was right at the moment that I was mentioning that beauty must die and the perfect must pass or something like this. But anyway, that was a very poignant moment.
So 0.62, it's a little over half, and I'm looking at the timeline here for this piece, and we're at 12 minutes and 4 seconds, and where you were talking about the golden mean was right at about the 7-minute mark.
So play that right there.
Let's let me go to it. So here's 6:58.
See, now we have that descent here. I guess it wasn't the a cappella. But that's the same text. This is where they're talking about the weeping. The gods weep and the goddesses too. That beauty must pass away, that the perfect must die. That line happened literally right before.
It was right before. Okay.
It was literally right before. So yeah, it's that area.
Right around that 0.62.
Yeah, but put that 0.62 in any classical work, and that's the climax of the song.
Interesting.
So if you want to just jump straight to the climax of the song, just jump to that point of every piece.
Now, do you think that this is an example of a piece that's a single movement, right? There's no second or third movement or fourth movement.
Right, which is why it kind of gets the designation of cantata versus like an oratorio is like this larger work for some staging, or you have the mass where there's, you go through the Gloria, the Kyrie, the Credo, all that different stuff. A cantata is kind of like it's a maybe not necessarily free form, but it's its own. Like I think of cantata, I think of Bach, and that's, you have what, 4 or 5, 6 different little movements. Here it's just one work. It's secular because it's not biblical, and that's why it gets the designation of secular cantata.
Well, definitely not biblical, given all the talk about gods.
There's a lot of gods. There's a lot of gods here. Yeah. And the second one definitely has the same kind of thing going on here.
Now let's talk about that. So the Gesang der Parzen.
But did we talk about your cigar and whiskey? Or no, did we talk about your cigar? We talked about your drink.
The drink is good. My cigar is also good. I think I closed that.
How far through are you? I'm like halfway.
Yeah, about halfway.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your how thick is that one?
This is it's definitely a 60, maybe a 58. Probably like 6.1 by 58, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. I'm smoking a Toro. I realize that I can't pull off the gold label, so I will be smoking gold.
Okay.
In a couple of minutes here.
Well, if you can eat it, right?
Maybe yeah. So if you can eat it, you can definitely smoke it.
You can definitely smoke it. If you can eat it, you can smoke it. That is the tagline for Opus Robusto. If you can eat it, you can smoke it.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm a little reluctant to smoke gold because I think gold is about to jump through the roof here. So
we should make another podcast around our investing. Our investing stuff.
I would like that. Maybe next.
Sticks and stocks. Sticks and stocks.
Why didn't we do that one, Jaress? That's hilarious. That's awesome. Sticks and stocks. Let's do it.
I stole that from somebody. There's another cigar podcast and I listened to it. Yeah.
That's awesome. I'll have to listen to that one, actually. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so next...
Yeah, Gesang der I don't know why I have a hard time saying. I practiced it too. Parzen.
Yeah, the Z pretend you put like a little T before it.
Like a T.
Parzen.
The hard part is not the T for me, it's the R. Like, do I say Parzen or Parzen?
Par. Like pretend you're Scottish or Irish and say
Parzen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, par. Oh, I shot a pirate today, So that would be brilliant, actually. I haven't done it yet, but I'm looking forward to the day where I shoot my age.
Oh.
It won't happen till I'm maybe 85 years old. So we'll see what happens. Gesang der Parzen, a song of fates, based on the text of Goethe, which it has this play Goethe, who was a very famous playwright, poet. Like everyone had books of Goethe. Like that was the guy in Germany, or the Weimar Republic back in the day. And Ephigenie of Taurus was the play, and it's this whole thing's kind of based off the fourth act, and which is the Parzen Lied, Song of Fates, and it's Iphigenie's cry of despair. And this is actually a terribly depressing text, if you especially towards the end, which we'll kind of get into. But he's also inspired another artwork, which I was going to share again, but I don't know if Jaress has quite figured out the co-host abilities.
I'm going
versus
to try
the
it again.
The try co-host.
See, I only have a
This
make
time.
host option.
You really don't. Oh.
Let me try. Let me look more. See, I have chat, stop video, make host, rename. Yeah, I don't have a co-host option. Maybe it's because I'm on the free version of Zoom.
Honestly,
Maybe there are no
actually,
co-hosts.
I lost my picture anyway, so don't even worry about it at this point, because that's okay. I would have to search around to find it. Oh no, I do have it. It's right here.
Well, I'll make you a host again, and then just make me host again.
We will do that.
All right, go for it.
So right here, this is Arnold Böcklin. So the umlaut is over the O this time. Böcklin, right? And so we have a centaur. And one thing that, I don't know, you tell me, what do you notice this time?
Yeah, still more death on the right. The first thing that I noticed, if I'm being completely honest, is the centaur holding that big boulder and about to bash another centaur in the head or something.
Right. So it's a little bit more violent right here. And so I think one thing that I noticed about Böcklin and his art is it's a little bit more emotionally charged. It's something that I kind of noticed. So let me stop my sharing. But yeah, just a quick and give you co-host ability or host abilities again. There you go. But yeah, definitely a little bit more emotionally charged here. Song of Fates. He's added the previous one. Brahms added trombones to kind of have a warmer effect. And as a trombone guy, I really appreciated that. Here he's added a lot more bass, like contrabassoon, contrabass, bass tuba. So there's a lot of bass going on in this next work. And that's something that's very romantic too. You won't see in classicism. You see, kind of your standard. You got your strings, you got some woods, you got your trumpets, you got your timpani. Like that's classical. And so romanticism, you see a bigger orchestra, again, bigger fortes, bigger pianos, bigger dynamics, so louder, softers. And yeah, I think this one is definitely a little bit more, again, with Song of Fates, I think of Duel of Fates, Star Wars, John Williams. But you're not a Star Wars guy.
May the 4th be with you. That's today.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, you know what? So maybe you are a Star Wars guy.
No, not really. I just know that much.
That's what I thought. But may the 4th be with you too, my friend. Yeah, that's kind of what this is all about. And maybe, I don't know if I should read the text now. I think it's kind of annoying when I read it during. So maybe I should just
go for it.
Maybe I should just read it now, because I find it to be definitely this, you'll hear in this work kind of like the heavens, the gods of the heavens, and you'll hear kind of, the ones that are just descended into disgrace, despised, rejected into the depths, the nocturnal depths is what it says here. So the first stanza, the human race should tremble before the gods. And that's kind of like the theme of the whole act. I'm sorry, the whole play of Goethe here. For the hands, they hold dominion over them, demand whatever they please, right? But then the second stanza, which I'll point out when it happens, those who've been exalted by the gods should doubly fear them. On the cliffs of clouds, there's chairs around these tables of gold. And then the third stanza, we descend. If dissension arises, then the guests are hurled down, despised, disgraced into the nocturnal depths, and they wait in vain, bound in darkness for just judgment. Meanwhile, back in heaven, fourth stanza, the gods remain at their eternal feast, golden tables, they walk from mountain to mountain, which Brahms does a really brilliant thing at that moment, which is really cool. From the abyss, and then it kind of goes back and forth at this point. From the abyss, still in the fourth stanza, from the abyss of the deep streams of breath of suffocating titans and the light mist of burnt offerings, the rest of it. Okay, fifth stanza. This is where this is where it gets real. Okay, the rulers avert their blessing bestowing eyes. They look away, right, from entire races, avoid seeing their grandchild, the grandchild, the loved, the once loved, right, but silently speaking features of the ancestors. So they're rejecting kind of the ancestors, the grandchildren being despised, so to speak. And in that moment is the most beautiful writing. It's major. This whole work is minor. Well, other than maybe the gods in the heavens, but this is like the most beautiful music, right, in the whole work. It's talking about the gods averting their eyes. So sang the fates, the old banished, one listens in the darkened lair to the songs of ancient ones, thinks of his children and grandchildren, and shakes his head. So
and that's the end?
And that's the end. It's terribly depressing.
Oh my gosh.
It's terribly, but I mean, you look at Böcklin's, works. It's emotionally charged. I think this is something that definitely fits that. I don't know. Enough of me talking. Play it. Let's go.
Well, so before we play it, there's one thing that I want to comment on. That our listeners can listen for at the end here. So you just got done saying, the whole thing, but the last line of it, right, about, the gods look at the children and the grandchildren and shake their heads. And there's two chords that end this piece. And, the second to last chord is a G minor over D. And then the last chord, for me, I perceived it as a D major chord, even though the song is generally in D minor. But when I looked at the score, there was no F sharp. I couldn't find an F sharp in any of the instrumentation. It's an open fifth, right? It's just a D and A.
For the non-musical, that means there's no, it's not minor or major. It's open. So it's kind of take that as you will. Right, it's like open for interpretation. Actually, I might have because I was reading about it last night, and there might be some interpretation there. But yeah, it's brilliant. Let's take a listen.
Listen for that. Yeah,
let's do it. Here we go.
I love this opening. So like minorly triumphant.
which really sums up the gods, right? D minor here. Cello solo. Soli.
Love it.
I like how Brahms does these seamless,
Yeah.
Introductions when he brings in the chorus. So we're talking about fearing the gods. You can hear the motive. Long, short, short, long, short,
Yeah.
short, long. That's throughout the whole work. Da, da, da. Short, short, long. Or an F major.
And not even that short long, short long, short long in the orchestra.
Yeah. So it's the same motive, but in a smaller segment. Yeah. So the gods are sitting around their tables of gold. So now we're back. Now we're introducing the depths of darkness here. A lot more chromaticism here, so we're changing keys a lot, essentially. A lot of angst. Here's Boeklin's art right here, very dramatic or emotionally charged. Here's that descent into the depths right there.
It's genius.
Here's kind of like the laments of those despised, rejected in the depths of the nocturnal night.
I love that part.
That'd be fun to play.
Yeah.
Now we're back. We're back in the tables of gold here.
It sounds like gold.
Oh, I'm smoking gold. Coincidence? I think not. change going on here. In classicism, this would be like your developmental section right here. This is the fourth stanza. It's like you're switching sings back and forth. Heaven, hell, heaven, hell.
Back to D minor.
So here, actually, we actually go back to the first stanza. So this is the same material that we just heard in the first stanza. It's the same text. Fear of the gods. So here's that controversial fifth stanza coming up right here, and it's in 3/4. And I didn't talk about it in the last work, but I'll talk about proportionality when we are done. So now we're in D major, not D minor. Which is a cool turn in our eyes. We don't see anything.
Beautiful.
I mean, it's just beautiful, isn't it?
It is. A little bit of a hemiola there.
Yeah. Between the right. The sopranos and the lower voices.
This part coming up, I think, is my favorite. This is crazy. It sounds like an organ.
It does. You're listening to a really high flute. A D trumpet is kind of like up there too, but also the violin. It really kind of gives off this really organ-ish.
Yeah.
This is the last stanza. This is that really depressing one. You can hear it. Back in D minor. So sang the fates. Feel banished one listens. In his darkened lair, listens to the songs of the ancient ones, thinks of his children and grandchildren. Shakes his head. It's very chant-like right here.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the final cadence that Jaress was talking about. A minor 4 to an open 1. And Jaress, you hear major in that.
I can't not hear major.
Yeah.
In that.
And I was telling Jaress, I think you hear major because because in the overtone series, I was kind of briefly talking about that. When you produce a pitch with resonance, you're creating overtones. And that's what gives each instrument its character sound, is its different set of overtones. Are they more spread out? The voice has the most overtones, which is why the voice is able to sing over an orchestra in the setting of opera.
Sure.
Because it has so much overtone. It's producing more pitches than the actual pitch that's written. Okay, so you're singing the pitch that's written, but your voice is creating all these other pitches. So in the overtone series, the third comes up, after you repeat the root of the chord, and the fifth. After a while, you'll find the third. You'll hear the second before you'll hear the third. But I think that's why you hear the third right there, because of the overtones. But I think Brahms' intention here is to kind of keep it open.
So for our listeners, we might pull this up. Let's see here. This is a song called Past Life Melodies.
Oh yeah, didn't we sing that?
We sang this.
So
I think it's perfect. Say it again.
Well, I was just gonna say, for some historical context here for Jaress and myself, for our relationship, which kind of blossomed more in our freshman year of college. We actually went to college together for 1 year at Bakersfield College before we parted ways, and I went to Luther. We sang under our conductor, Ron King. We sang this song, which is all about creating overtones. Maybe you can skip ahead to where you can actually...
I think it's at the end where you hear it the most, right?
So you hear that whistle at the top? And you can stop there, because that overtone that's being produced right there, that's no one's singing that note. And that's clear as day, right?
Yeah.
But no one's actually singing that note. That note's being produced, right?
Everyone's singing unison and octaves.
Everyone's singing unison and octaves, but it's producing all the other notes. Okay. So that was my point with this last chord here, that with all the instrumentation, it produces the major third before you might encounter the minor third. But actually, I think Brahms' intent here is to keep that open-ended. And I was reading, because I was like, what is this all about, right? Like, what's going on here? And where's the article? The article that I'm reading here is from, oh man, there's no way I can pronounce this guy. It's Miami University, Oxford, Ohio. And the writer is Ftishia Papnikaulau. I don't know. Anyway, he was saying it's like looking at a beautiful, or maybe he's quoting actually. I think he references another article. It says, imagine looking at a statue, a beautiful statue. Okay. Right. You're looking at a beautiful sculpture, and Greek sculpture. It's stunning, but when you look in the inside, it's cold, marble. It's these indifferent gods, right, that are kind of looking down on humanity. Brahms depicts this whole, like that whole fifth stanza with this serene, beautiful, musical kind of outlook, but in the underline and the underneath, right, is he's disguising the cruelty, right, of these gods, and which actually Brahms has done in maybe some of his other works, where he kind of has this kind of contradictory esque to the text, where he throws in some irony, essentially. The open fifths wants to suggest, but not impose, or imply, but not assert. And that's a quote from this guy at Miami University. Yeah. So I think that kind of rings true here. It's a really I don't know. It's really dark.
Yeah.
Kind of ending there, isn't it?
So you were going to talk a little bit about the 4/4 and the 3/4.
Yeah, both works. Brahms was a lover of, or he really appreciated Renaissance and Baroque music, and especially in Renaissance, there was a lot of proportionality, especially like 4/3. That proportional aspect, and when you listen to music in the Renaissance, and Renaissance was without instrument mostly, or I guess exclusively, because you would hear these 4-part harmonies that you would or 5-part based out of the church, and so you have this work that was kind of one tempo, but kind of like two-thirds in, the tempo would shift to you would have like maybe a slower tempo, but you would have this 3/4 or 4/3 proportionality, and then the last third of the piece would be a little quicker, right? And it would be exactly 4/3 of that tempo. And so Brahms throws this in both, not only the Nänie that you listen to, but also here the time signature from 4/4. We 4/4 meaning we have 4 beats in a measure. Dum bum 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 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1, 2 and 3, 4, where that moment in the fifth stanza, the controversial stanza, that's in 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, where it becomes that chant-like kind of esque ending there. But anyway, that's just an example of throwing antiquity into the work, which is, again, highlighting Böcklin and Feuerbach's paintings, which, the Hellenistic spirit of the times.
I wonder if the, I've got this other spot queued up here. In the orchestral accompaniment, this is where the triplets are. I wonder if that also plays into
Yeah,
it there
in
with what you're
in a
talking about.
smaller scale, which just
Yeah.
again highlights the complexity of, of Brahms' writing. It's
Hmm.
beautiful sounding to the person that just has no idea what we're talking about, right? I don't care. It's beautiful, right? To the one that loves to like analyze this kind of stuff. I mean, it's rich, just completely rich.
Yeah.
So Brahms is just a genius at this kind of thing.
It's amazing. We should do the Brahms violin concerto at some point. Have you heard that one?
I don't, not off the top of my head. No, I don't. I don't. I'm sure I've heard it. I can't recall it right now.
Can't recall it. Yeah. It's I mean it's amazing. There's a couple of spots in there where the violin solo does part of that that type of, you know, I guess 4/4 to 3/4, you know, kind of feel.
Yeah,
The
and
orchestra is playing
he
four
does that
four,
in
and
so much of his stuff. You'll
it's
see that.
amazing.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
sung a lot of his works where there's that kind of proportionality that you'll see throughout.
Well, how's the last part of your cigar?
Yeah, um, I'm smoking gold here and listening to Tables of Gold. It's fitting. It's beautiful. This is smoked really even. It's really nice. This is the white series, and you see this horse and I don't know if you see that
Yeah.
horse and man here, and yeah, I was checking out the website of this particular cigar, the Swedish guy. So it's kind of a newer brand, if you will. I was surprised to hear that it was one of the most popular. I was like, well, today, because normally I like maybe medium bold, right?
Hmm.
And I like Maduro wraps, and you know, because I think it has a nice leathery, you know, flavor to it that's really smooth. It's like I said, it's a hot day, so I'm thinking, well, maybe more medium.
Yeah.
And this has been really nice. A lot of flavor, usually with a more medium mild cigar. You know, you're kind of taking out the spice, if you will,
Hmm.
the sting to it, which is like, oh, well, maybe I want a spicier rye or something like that. But this has a lot of flavor to it. I mean, I don't have, like I said before, I don't have a palate where I can really know exactly what's going on here, but
Mine has
kind of
changed.
like Brahms, it's very complex. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Mine has changed a little bit. I would say maybe about the golden mean through
Ooh,
Gesang der Parzen. Um,
good job, Jaress.
there you go. I'm learning. Yeah, it changed a little bit heavier, a little bit pepperier, I guess you would say.
Hmm.
Good cigar. The first, was it this one? No, there's another one that Diesel makes.
I
That's
like Diesel a lot,
Diesel is good.
and that's one of
Yeah,
your favorites, right?
I
You've
do
had,
like Diesel. I have a lot of
yeah,
Diesels.
right.
I just ordered a bunch of cigars from Cigar Bid. That's that's not an advertisement, but
Hey,
I do order a lot from them because it's cheap. Dude, there's this one cigar that I got. It's the Ave Maria Reconquista.
hmm,
And if you buy a 5 pack of the size that I got, which is a 7 by 54, it's a pretty big
hmm.
cigar. First of all, it comes in individual wooden coffins, right? These 5 packs, it doesn't come in a box, it comes in coffins.
Excuse me.
And yeah,
What
coffins.
is this? The Song of Fates that we're talking about here?
And if you were to buy it from any other big name cigar retailer, you're probably going to pay about $100 per 5-pack of this 7x54. But on Cigar Bit, I got it for like $17. Like you can't beat that. You can't beat it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is an advertisement.
Mm-hmm.
Cigarbid.com.
Cigar Bit. They should pay us for this episode.
Absolutely.
And your drink, it's gone?
No, well, yeah, it was. I had to refill.
You refilled it?
And it's 100 proof, so I put just a small ice cube. What I do is I take an ice cube, I put it under water, so it's like just this tiny thing. I throw it in. It will, maybe you at home, what's it called? Like all those little swirlies that happen. What is that called?
Yes, yeah. I don't know what it's called, but you can see it.
Yeah, well, you at home, you would know anyway. So it just kind of opens the whiskey, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been really nice. Very nice compliment to the cigar. Yeah, I'm definitely a fan of Rittenhouse, especially for the price, bang for buck. I'm always for bang for buck because, I'm an educator, so I like a discount for sure, which is like why I love. The other night I was drinking Buffalo Trace, so very very affordable. Line of Pappies, just a nice drinkable, beautiful bourbon that's very affordable.
That's a good bourbon.
Rittenhouse is definitely in the same vein.
Yeah, I'll have to check that one out. I'm sure I can find it here, being that it's made
out
here.
It's right next door, Jaress.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely try this Rittenhouse. It's very nice. I find that ryes are perfect for old fashions.
Oh, really?
Like how because when you make an old fashioned, you're throwing in sugar, right?
Yep.
Got a sugar cube, or you're throwing in your simple syrup. However you make your old fashioned, that's fine. But bourbon to me is a little bit more sweeter profile.
Yeah, agree.
And versus more of a peppery, spicy that you'll get from the rye. So ryes I think are definitely more appropriate for your old fashions. So I can't wait to do an old fashioned with this Rittenhouse. I mean, I'm gonna do that probably tomorrow night because I'm really excited about what that might taste like.
Any final comments on the Nänie or the Gesang der Parzen?
Yeah, I mean, you left it all out there. It's beautiful. Both are beautifully written. Obviously, a lot of thought, a lot of beauty in the again, not only in how it sounds, but how it's constructed. Mm-hmm. The marriage of text, the marriage of artwork. I mean, that's high art, and that's what classical music is all about. Where it's about excelling, heightening the art form, and yeah, I think this is a perfect representation. You?
I agree. Yeah, I mean, it's both pieces are really good. I haven't sang them, I haven't played them, but both are very good. I'll say that I'm a little more partial, I think, to the Gesang der Parzen. It's I think I prefer the triumphant minor, type of feel that one has. But both are very good. They're very good pieces.
Yeah.
And Brahms, he's
genius.
Yep.
I remember having a conversation with there was this other high school that was interviewing for other choir directors, and they said, hey, every person coming in is saying like their favorite composer is Brahms. I was like, well, I mean,
There's
I don't
a reason.
know. There's probably a reason there. But yeah, I mean, I think romanticism definitely, I don't know, I think especially in this day and age, especially in the 21st century, I think romanticism really rings and connects with people a little bit more. I think we're more in a spirit of free thinking and more melodramatic, right?
Yep.
Rather than structure.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
if you look at the beginning of the 20th century, we kind of went to, even though the music sounded kind of crazy, there was actually a lot of structure to it. It was organized in a way where things were more mathematical. They started, they started with Schoenberg and Stravinsky and all those composers that really kind of mathematically scoped out their music. That was something that was very structured. So now we're in kind of an era that again is melodramatic. So you'll notice music throughout time: Renaissance, structure; Baroque, melodramatic; Classicism, structure; Romanticism, melodramatic; 20th century, structured; now modern, melodramatic. So it'll be interesting to see when that pivot happens again, where we become really structured with our music again. That's just something that, although in modern time now we have so many different aspects to music, and now music is so much more worldwide, right? It's we have so much culture that is mainstream. It's Western music isn't as dominant as it was, right? It's now worldly. So I wonder if structure is something that will play a role in years to come.
Well, just that wraps it up for us tonight.
Yeah, for sure.
To all of our listeners, hope you enjoyed the discussion, music, your cigar, and your drink. Next up, we're actually going to be discussing the Sibelius Violin Concerto in D minor, and diving into the details and magic of, for me, is one of my favorite violin concertos of all time.
It's beautiful.
It's a good piece.
I can't wait.
All right, well, listen to an opus.
And until next time, listen to an opus and smoke a Robusto for us.
Thanks for joining us.
Good night.